Shall we check this? He went to Scranton. He was on Mornings with Maria. How do you solve a morning like Maria?
Citizens are forced to make agonizing choices.
Like getting up and standing behind me when they should be sitting down, considering they have crutches, while I yammer about this. By the way, the stock market going up during this speech doesn't really help the case, but we'll work on it.
Every single day, just to pay the bills. And winter is...
They just edit, they cut this down. Hang on a fucking second.
Citizens are forced to make agonizing choices every single day just to pay the bills.
People aren't hoeing. What are you talking about?
And winter is coming.
Well, the election's in the fall, but okay. Yes, time moves forward, dum-dum.
This is a national referendum. A referendum on inflation, illegal immigration, indoctrination,
and subjugation, and
crime,
and masturbation. No,
crime at home and humiliation abroad.
Oh, humiliation abroad. I see. All right.
A choice between soaring inflation and skyrocketing energy costs.
Skyrocketing inflate. Inflation delight. I'm sorry, skyrocketing? I think that actually sounds cool.
A choice between soaring inflation and skyrocketing energy costs.
Skyrocketing energy costs. Come on. Rocket energy costs for me and you. All right. Skyrocket energy costs.
Or affordable rents and gas and groceries for you and your family.
Groceries.
That was House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy
Yeah, well, not for long.
For President Biden's speech, sending out his own warning ahead of the midterm elections. Joining me now is Arkansas Congressman Bruce Westerman. Good morning to you, Congressman.
And congratulations on the piece of art in the hotel you're in.
Member of the Natural Resources and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Let me just...
They got you spread pretty thin. They don't trust you with national secrets? Is that what we're supposed to...
Just ask you this, because the Biden administration keeps touting the fact that oil prices and gas prices have come down a little bit from their record highs. But if you look at the futures, you can see natural gas is skyrocketing and people are bracing for higher heating costs this winter. The pain is far from over, and that was indicated by Jerome Powell last week as well. Your thoughts about the president's speech last night and also where we're headed?
Well, good morning, Jackie. Good to be with you. And, I think the president was just making a political move last night, but I think Americans have to look at life 2 years ago.
Weren't things so much better when we were all locked in our rooms watching a Duck Dynasty rerun, dreaming of a simpler, kindler time when each and every one of us could enjoy the pleasures of not going anywhere and not doing anything, while our great president, Donald John Trump, delayed reacting to COVID-19 so that the Chinese trade deal, which they ultimately only honored a third of, and still it's turned out to be a shit deal, even if they'd gone after it. We all could, I think we can all remember the wonder, the majesty, the glory of the middle of COVID lockdowns. Like, those were simpler times. I couldn't even talk to anyone then. I was just in the garage with a bag on my head, playing Guess the Power Tool with my friend Gary.
The pandemic was much worse, but the economy was much better. And what?
That's that. I mean, thank you, Dum Dum. Thanks for summing up the entirety of the Republican argument. That's it. That's all of it.
The pandemic was much worse, but the economy was much better. And what has changed?
All right, that's it. I mean, seriously, that is the argument. That's all. That's what Trump is always saying. That's what these guys are saying. Look at the gas prices. Look what I did look at the border during COVID. Look at gas prices during COVID. pre-recovery prices were in the shitter. Well, yeah, along with every fucking thing else. Good Lord. Do they know this is a shit argument? Does anybody push back against them? God forbid this woman who is hosting, Jackie, what's her name, says, yeah, but in all fairness, you couldn't go anywhere or do anything. We were having like runs on toilet paper. We didn't have PPE. People were they were chucking PPP loans at everybody, and the Trump administration wasn't even bothering to see if they deserved them or needed them.
Joe Biden and Democrat complete control of Congress. That's what's changed. And look at everything that's happened in between.
Yes, the deficit's been cut in half. Unemployment's been cut in half. We've had record job growth. We're 1 million jobs ahead of where we were in 2019. Infrastructure bill passed. We're out of Afghanistan. We're reshoring factories at the fastest clip in American fucking history. We have 9 new chip factories opening in the United States currently. Not like in 5 years or 3 years or a promise to blah, 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 but right now. And then there's like 7 more on the fucking way. Yeah, I'm looking exactly at what's changed since Biden got into office. We were spiraling downwards under Trump because he was like, why do we need a pandemic response team? Fuck that.
Kevin was right. We've got some tough times ahead. We've been focused.
Yeah, the price is going down. You're showing it go down.
A lot on energy, and we know energy affects all of the economy. What I'm really concerned about are food prices, which are even outpacing energy on inflation. We've had some tough times with agriculture, not just here in the U.S., but globally. And
that's obviously Biden's fault. Careful, dum-dum. You might point out the fact that our issues with inflation are not based on monetary policy, but on supply shock and high demand because America's economy is stronger than any other economy in the fucking world.
With winter coming, food prices are going to go higher. I think food's going to be in more of a shortage, and I think it is indeed going to be tough times ahead. We need real.
Brent crude is fucking. Oil is at $88 a barrel, and Brent crude is at $94, and that's after it went up $2. Son of a bitch. Like, basically, this is just root against America. This is everything. Whenever, like, anything positive happened in the United States, and Trump wanted credit for it, and we were like, he didn't do that. That's just part of life or whatever. They were like, you're rooting against America. Meanwhile, when this shit is actually coming down because of actual policy changes, they're like, God damn it.
Real leadership in Washington, and we're just simply not getting that.
Well, you should probably leave then. If you're in Washington and you're on 3 different committees, I think obviously fish stinks from the head, buddy. I would jump off if I were you. Clearly, this is a failure of your leadership, your capability. Maybe it's your inability to understand the issues. Maybe you could just walk in there on Monday and go find Kevin McCarthy. He'll be drinking in the corner. Find him and say, you know what? I am mentally outmatched by almost anyone. So I think I want to give up my committee seats because I'm doing no one any good. I'm just too dumb for the task. Yeah.
From this administration or from Democrats.
I think a lot of people would agree with you, and they also...
Yeah, but they're stupid. They're literally stupid, willfully ignorant.
I would say, Congressman, that last night's speech was a distraction in some ways from the real issues, the economy, inflation, gas and heating prices, food prices, as you mentioned.
Well, let's see. I mean, it's good that she brings it up. Oh, sorry. I put in food prices U.S. and the first thing that came up was food prices U.S. Open. Like how to buy food if you're going to the U.S. Open. Europe is extreme. Indiana farmers plead U.S. Senate pass immigration reform to stabilize farm costs lower. Oh my God. Huh. This is not exactly, I think, the argument this dipshit is expecting, but I think it's fairly hilarious. This is from an Indiana local. Indiana farmers plead to U.S. senators pass immigration reform to stabilize farm costs, lower food prices. One of the reasons why the price is high is because labor costs have gone up because we've had such draconian anti-immigration policies, and we don't have, like migrant worker visas and all that. A bill before the Senate would allow more U.S. farmers to hire immigrant workers year-round. There we go. Jose, nice Jose, what's happening, man? A dairy worker from Mexico helps feed a newborn calf at Homestead Dairy in Plymouth, Indiana. If you buy a gallon of milk at Indiana Walmart, it likely comes from a cow at Homestead Dairy. The farm, located 2 hours north of Indianapolis, is home to about 5,000 dairy cows. And downwind of it, boy, oh, Shevitz. It's a good living. Real estate is amazingly cheap. It's like Stockton, California. You drive through Stockton, your headlights will start watering. And every one of them needs to be milked 3 times a day. Hello. That requires dozens of employees, but finding folks to work on dairy farms has not been easy. We have posted newspapers from South Bend all the way to Rochester saying we need workers, and we didn't get any, said Jill Hohen. We'll just call her Hun, whose family runs the 4th generation dairy. Look at that, a family farm looking for migrant labor, trying to get senators to pass comprehensive immigration reform so that we can, really. This is Indiana, by the way. The reality is most Hoosiers don't want to work on dairy farms where long days involve very physical work, requires a passion for the industry. That's why 70% of the staff at Homestead Dairy come from foreign countries. Most of the milkers, veterinarians, mechanical engineers, and barn caretakers who keep the dairy running are from Mexico. That's right. Hun says, based on experience, the staff earn between $48,000 and $90,000 annually, which includes housing. These immigrants that are coming over here with visas and different things like this allow us to produce the milk. They are crucial to our business, and they become part of our family. Look at that. Well, guess what, dummy? You shouldn't have voted for Trump. She probably didn't. Jill Hoyen says 70% of the workers at Homestead Dairy are from foreign countries because she can't find enough skilled farm workers in Indiana. Go figure. I'm sure this is what this dude is talking about.
The staples that are the kitchen table conversation at the...
Yeah, our kitchen table conversations about grocery prices. Yes. It's tough to see. If you look at the futures, it's this kind of thing. Here you go. Here's how soon grocery prices could go down according to experts. July 29th, 2022. This is from Go Banking Rates. This is the thing. Article from, let's see. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, global food prices have increased by 65% since the COVID-19 pandemic and have risen by 12% this year because of Russia and Ukraine. Morgan Stanley reported. When will food prices level off? Although everyone seems to have an opinion, most experts are sticking to the short answer provided by the recent CNBC Select report. There's no straight answer on when prices will go down, but it's not too far off. The latest consumer price index has food prices increasing across the board, and year-over-year increases have been significant. The overall food index rose 1% in June after experiencing a 1.2% rise in May. In the past 12 months, food index has increased by 10%. The food at home and food away from home indices are up 12.2 and 7.7 respectively over the same time span per the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Let's see. Inflation not necessarily transitory, peaked and may unwind. Yeah, that's the other thing they hate. Let's see. Experts. Okay, this is a bunch of different issues. There you go. I'm trying to find the newest news on this. Hold on. News. Hold on, Brent. Inflation is slowing down. Gas, rent, and recovery prices fall too. Yeah, let's just grab the CNN. This sounds the most incendiary. This is the year-over-year 12-month percent change. Over 12 months, grocery prices have soared 13%. The largest annual increase since the year ending March 1979, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said Wednesday. The prices are nearly every grocery item have ballooned over the past year. The cost of eggs soared 38%, flour 22.7%, chicken 17.6%. And when was this article? Hold on one second. This is, August 10th. Good. All right. So fruits and vegetables, 9.3%, got more expensive. And look how bare the shelves are. That's the worst part. You even if you wanted it and you had the money, you can't get. Anybody seen a Republican with their whole the stores are empty, where they take a shelf like this where one particular item has either been bought out or they ran out, and they take a picture of this little piece, and then they're like, look at the empty shelves. A number of factors have contributed to the rise in food costs. A deadly avian flu has meant fewer eggs in the United States. Those are all coming back. A severe drought in Brazil / coffee crops. And the war in Ukraine led to a spike in wheat prices in the spring. While commodity prices are falling, it will take time before those lower costs pass through to consumers. Plus, plenty of other costs for producers, such as fuel, labor, and packaging, have also been high. Demand for groceries grows. This is a demand-driven cost as well. Unlike discretionary items, consumers can't simply stop buying food when prices rise. They may, however, opt for less expensive options. Producers, grocers, and restaurant operators have noted that consumers are indeed trading down, swapping out higher-priced items for more affordable ones. Earlier this week, Tyson said demand for steak is falling while interest in chicken is rising. Wendy's traffic has been hit because some customers decided to pack lunches or eat breakfast at home. CEO Todd Penegor, the great Penegor, said during a post-earnings analyst call Wednesday. Penegor added that about 82% of meals were eaten at home pre-pandemic, but that figure jumped 3 percentage points since then and has stayed there. So 85% of people eat at home before the pandemic, or 82%, now 85% do. 3% shift. That's a lot of food and a lot of change. Even that 3% is flattened out over a large economy is a huge number of people and a lot of food. The consumer has been a little more strapped, so there's a few more meals prepared at home. Inflation's been high, so net disposable income has been a little bit pinched. Again, little bit, slightly more. Look at the language. Jesus fucking Christ.
The average American family's home in this country. People are worried about what's to come, and they're worried about, their safety, their security, all these things.
Yeah, well, they certainly don't want to be shot for just being an election volunteer.
Yeah, Jackie, I think what Americans want is a secure and prosperous future.
Yeah, we're working on that.
And this administration and Democrats in Congress are simply not delivering that. We have a plan as Republicans. We have a plan to get the economy back on track.
Let's hear it.
To actually use our resources that we have here, not be reliant on foreign countries.
Like how? I mean, oil output in the United States is like 98%. What are you going to get, a 2% bump? What are you going to 100%? Hold on. Oil output, U.S. U.S. oil output rises 1.7% in June, highest since April 2020. Hey, look at that. Right back to where we were, and still going up. U.S. crude oil production rose in June by 1.7% to its highest since April 2020. According to a monthly report from the U.S. Energy Information Administration on Wednesday, oil production rose to about 11.8 million barrels per day in June, from about 11.6 million barrels per day the month prior. The report showed producers cut back drastically on output in 2020. That's when gas was so cheap. After pandemic lockdowns slashed demands, and companies have been gradually boosting production. Production in North Dakota rose 3.4%, about 1.1 million barrels per day in June, highest since March. New Mexico output rose 2% to 1.5 million per day in June, highest on record. Output in Texas fell 0.1% to just under 5 million barrels per day in June, lowest since February. The fuck is up with Texas? Hey, Texas, I thought everything was bigger in Texas. You're slacking. Why is, honest to fucking God, why is Texas oil output down? It's almost as if they are making a political choice to squeeze output to raise the cost of oil for political purposes. Go figure. Come on, get out of here. Monthly gross natural gas production in the U.S. lower 48 states rose to a record 109.3 billion cubic feet per day in June. That is a record. That is the most ever in June at any time fucking ever. Top gas producing states' monthly output rose 0.4% to a record 31.1 British cubic fucking dunks in Texas. I'm messing around. And fell 0.5% in Pennsylvania, about 20.6. Demand for U.S. crude and petroleum products rose in June to about 20.8 million barrels per day, the highest since August 2019. Demand for motor gasoline rose to 9.1 barrels per 1 million barrels per day, the highest since August 2021. So, yeah, what's the plan? What the fuck is the plan? If there's a Republican plan to increase, what they mean more drilling, so we're at whatever 107% capacity. We're double the hold on. What's the Saudi output? Saudi barrels per day. Okay. Saudi Arabia is setting their barrels per day output to 13 million barrels per day by 2027. Yeah, this is their May thing when Biden was talking to them. They're going to slowly tick up over time, but they're not there yet. Where are they currently? Saudi is on track to lift oil production capacity by more than 1 million barrels per day, 13 million barrels per day by the end of 2026, start of 2027. Prince also said upstream investments they have currently reached, adding that production could reach between no money to waste on anywhere else. He told the conference 13.2 to 13.4 million barrels per day is where their target. Let's see. What would be? Let's see. Venezuela barrels per day. See what their current thing is. Venezuela, oil production declines as shipments to Europe suspended. Iran began to ramp up lighter crude supplies to boost Venezuela's refineries and free domestic oil from blending and export. Caracas, Venezuela's oil output and exports have been receding following a series of operational setbacks, while recently renewed shipments to Europe have been reportedly halted. According to the latest Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, the OPEC report, Venezuela's July output stood at 661,000 barrels per day. 661,000. Lowest mark of the year. Below the previous month, 727. Not even 1 million barrels a day. We are at 11, what's ours? 11.8 million barrels a day. The United States is, all right. We used to be energy independent, guys.
Many of our adversaries, it's just amazing what this president does to American energy production, to American jobs. I've been back in my district in August talking to people, and I can tell you the people who are hurting are those that are low income and fixed income, where fuel prices and food prices have the greatest impact.
Yeah.
Right. That's why we help those folks specifically with directed subsidies.
And
you're not going to put this, you're not going to correct those for wage increases, are you? No? You're not going to put up the fact that, say, pork for this, in this example, would be a 2% rise, that milk would be a 10% rise after a drop off because of dairy farms cutting production. Same thing with butter. These are all labor costs.
It's really
same thing with coffee, not in the United States, by the way. What do they think the inflation is for coffee? Seriously, Where's the Biden input or any president's input for the price of fucking coffee? If anything, when you put coffee up there, you recognize this is almost all about energy costs.
Interesting
worldwide,
because there's been a spending spree by the Democrats. It started, the moment Joe Biden came
He turned on the money printer. He's printing the monies
into office and has continued. So we had the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, another $739 billion, and now the forgiveness of the student loans, the student loan bailout.
The student loan bailout's disgusting.
Republican attorneys general are considering lawsuits against President Biden to block the bailout. And this is coming as the Washington Post.
Republicans are readying lawsuits to block Biden's student debt plan. A legal battle could carry stark financial consequences for millions of student borrowers who rejoiced last week after. Oh, knock yourself out, guys. This is what Republicans are going to run on. When I heard that they were going to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt for people making less than $125,000 a year, or homes making less than $250,000 a year, most of whom who have about $26,000 of long-term debt, and often who were veterans or nurses or people who had spent their time working for the American people, my first reaction was, how do we sue that shit out of oblivion?
There was a report actually warning that, quote, a legal battle could carry stark financial consequences for millions of student borrowers who
Yes, Republicans, good luck with that.
Rejoiced last week after the Democrats delivered on this longstanding promise to erase some of their debt. Having said that, Congressman, many people say the president overstepped his authority in that bailout and that this is something Congress should have decided.
Yeah, and they would have.
Yeah, even Nancy Pelosi said that. We sent a letter to her asking if she still feels the same way. But it's hard to keep up with how much money this administration spent, and they just keep announcing more and more programs.
Well, it's weird that they brought the deficit down before this program even existed.
And again, this student loan forgiveness, it hasn't happened yet. It's not really a forgiveness. It's just shifting the burden from one group of people to another group of people. And actually, a lot fewer people go to college than, or don't go to, a lot fewer people.
Hold on. Biden administration student loan. I want to see how their graphic lays out. Debt bailout. Ew. It's like big banks. Like, oh, you're telling me that students are too big to fail? Is that what you're telling me? Well, they graduated, so they must have passed. But never mind. $20,000 if you went to college on Pell Grants. $10,000 if you didn't receive Pell Grants. Not quite, but okay. Forgiveness only applies to those earning less than $125,000. Student loan pause extended one final time through December. If you have undergraduate loans, you can cap repayment at 5% of your monthly income. That's not that weird at all. Payment-based, yeah, they just modified that part of it. Again, why is this crazy, especially post-COVID? Why is it not play, silly?
People go to college then go, and it's the people who didn't go, the hardworking, tax-paying Americans, are going to end up footing the bill for those who end up making more money over their lifetime.
Yeah, and a lot of people are angry about that.
Yeah, they're pissed. Just as terrible. $329.1 billion over 10 years. Voters foot the bill. Well, yeah, people over 18 who pay taxes, I guess. They also made that choice when they elected Joe Biden, and it's one of the things that he ran on was $10,000 worth of forgiveness. Voters offered to foot the bill, like they do with public education and all kinds and roads. Voters also foot the bill for infrastructure and getting us out of Afghanistan. 69% to 73% of debt forgiven accrues to households in the top 60% of income. Well, that's because there's a huge, once you get into income, there's a huge drop off. But okay, households with incomes over 74K almost 60% of the outstanding education, almost. So what, 58%? And the rest of them are below 74K? Working people. They do know that the average income in the United States is 68K. So the majority of these people are at or below it or just above it and are trying to, I mean, that's why they went to college in the first place, is so they could class themselves up in life. Would boost near-term inflation far more than the IRA will lower it. All right. How? Because those people, because they're not going to pay till December, will have more cash in pocket to buy goods and services, and therefore that will, because there's more cash available, will keep the prices of those things high.
They say it's just the whole concept behind it is unfair, and that this was an obvious push to essentially buy votes ahead of the midterms.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But having said that, I want to go back to the food prices because I think that's really important too.
Yeah, we really didn't hit that much. And
Congressman, the Department of Agriculture estimating food production costs, they're going to be up.
Production costs. Why would food production costs be up? Would it be because of a mix of demand and available goods that were not available through a choked supply chain being available once again?
18% in 2022. That's the highest jump that we've seen in history. We've seen.
Yeah, because they shut down the fucking factories during COVID, dummy.
Fertilizer costs going up as well.
Look out. The fertilizer cost has to do with Russia and Ukraine. That's our fault for getting potash from those fuckers. We can get some from Canada. We will be getting some from Michigan. Again, like if any of this, if anybody at Fox News actually meant it when they gave when they said they love America or America first or any of that stuff, here you go. News brink. There is a, I've shown this before. There's a potash facility that is being set up in Michigan. There's plenty of potash for all of our farming needs in Michigan. There's plenty of petroleum-based fertilizers that can be made from our shale oil and even the Canadian, the shitty oil that they have. Like we can use those things and our regular oil pumps to create petroleum-based fertilizers. We have enough of that for all of our farming needs. The difference is that we weren't set up to do it. Everybody was like, well, it's fucking cheap. It's like the same thing with Chinese factories. It's cheap coming from Russia, so why bother? Well, the reason you bother is because if you ever have a problem with these fuckers, you're stuck. You got all the potash I need. Thanks. Potash. This is the Michigan Potash and Salt Company. They're setting up this facility, and they're going to be sucking up that potash, that good old-fashioned, which is apparently in fossilized wood. I don't know. Anyways, at least, let's see, located at least 7,000 feet underground, a massive mineral deposit left behind by ancient evaporated seas could be the key to a new billion-dollar industry in Michigan. Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Wednesday, and this is this earlier this year. I have to see what the date is on. Yeah, March 31st, 2022. This is this year. Signed into law a nearly $5 billion bipartisan spending deal that includes a new $50 million state subsidy for the Michigan Potash and Salt Company. The private firm is finalizing plans for a $1.1 billion development in Osceola County to drill, extract, and commercialize part of a potassium ore deposit that stretches an estimated 2.9 million acres beneath 8 mid-Michigan counties. This is something we could have done a long time ago. Nobody thought it was necessary, though. Or at least in 2014, they didn't go, you know what? These Russians are fuckers. And we get almost all of our fertilizer from that part of the world. If that stuff gets hinky, we're doing it right now with chips. I got news for you. One of the reasons China's not going to invade Taiwan because they'd lose 1 million soldiers doing it. It'd be a fucking embarrassment, and it would be awful for them. And they would have no choice but to destroy Taiwan rather than have it. It would, but in this particular case, like the Biden administration and those in the know in Congress are helping to take some of the Taiwan semiconductor companies and move them to the United States and set up factories here to make chips, because if anybody attacks the countries that make them, mainly like even the low-res ones in China or the nice ones in Taiwan, or even if they decide, if North Korea goes after South Korea at some point, we will not have access to the chips we need for the high-quality technology that we are expecting in the future. We got to do it here. Same thing is true of fertilizer and potash. If we should know this going forward. If there's some way, like if they're going, well, we use cobalt in a lot of things, but this particular area of Africa is really fucking dangerous, it might behoove us to start, coming up with environmentally friendly ways of getting it at home. Not the least, not the least of which because we need it, but also because if we develop, because we don't like pollution in this country, we actually do give a shit when it happens. We freak out and we want to change. If we would do that in the United States, that technology, that better technology, could be ported to the rest of the world that does it in a very dirty environment, environmentally dirty way. So there. So what I'm trying to say is these two are both talking out of their ass.
This is a president that, tried to focus a little bit on energy by releasing, the SPR, but he didn't go to oil producers and roll back some of the regulations and say, you're free to drill, you're free to do this. He also missed the boat.
Yeah, he did. They have to do environmental tests because we drink the water. We eat the fish. We farm on the land. One of these things like Keystone XL goes fucking sideways, and that's, that's a huge chunk of arable land you can't use to grow crops for a long fucking time. We want these kind of checks and balances.
When it comes to agriculture and the farmers that are hurting in this country.
Yeah, I'm sure this is the part where he says, well, the important thing is that we sign on to the immigration reform bill that's in front of us in Congress so that Indiana farmers can have access to the workers that they would need from Mexico.
And Jackie, this is the United States of America, the world's leader in agriculture production, the world's leader in innovation. We have the most advanced, the best farming practices in the world. And we're
except for that part where we get a bunch of our shit from Russia.
We're going to be hurting here at home, and it's not because farmers are getting rich, it's because input costs are getting so much higher.
Input costs. Input costs. What do you put in farming? Seeds in the ground? Water on the seeds? That's input. What do you put it in? Oh, fertilizer.
You mentioned how natural gas is projected to cost even more. That's the main ingredient in fertilizer. As natural gas costs go up, then fertilizer costs are going to go up, and fertilizer is the main.
By the way, can I just say for the record, none of us, I think some of you went, oh, fuck, that's a watering drone. That's a pesticide drone, or that's a seeding drone. That's a regular part of American farming, I'll have you know. That's kind of amazing. It just kind of is. I mean, here's those giant tillers that are just enormous machines. Yeah.
Ingredient.
Those are incredible. This is off the chain.
In agriculture, it's pretty simple, and it's easy to see how the policies of this administration are going to hurt in the pocketbook, and it's going to hurt at the dinner table.
Oh, yeah? How? Explain yourself. Yeah, there you go. Production costs to rise 18% in 2022 because of fertilizer from Russia. Fucking assholes.
Thank you for making that connection. Very, very important for people to understand how.
Yeah, he didn't make the connection. He made an assertion and refused to anchor it in anything, dum-dum.
Everything is all intertwined. It's all related, and that's why.
Yeah, it's all, so it's like it's a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma on top of an avocado underneath a chicken tree.
Why prices are moving higher because of the policies that we've seen from this administration. Congressman Bruce Westerman.
Oh, God. This administration, I guess you mean Russia.